From her birth to her untimely death, Marilyn Monroe's life has always been a mystery. The media has always thrived to get every little detail of her, from her latest breakups to other controversies that she was a part of. Buzzle does a similar listing of some Marilyn Monroe facts you probably didn't know of. Did you know? Apparently Marilyn Monroe's death was said to be a case of suicide. The toxicology tests were done only on her liver. Deputy Coroner Thomas Noguchi could not get the other organs tested as they were said to be damaged. For someone who left for her heavenly abode 52 years ago, Marilyn Monroe, June 1, 1926 to August 5, 1962, continues to grab headlines to this day. Her life has always been an example of incomplete relations. Yet, her innocence and her honesty have never failed to catch people's attention. Marilyn Monroe has lived as the sex symbol of America. Apart from her elegance and poise, her hourglass figure and smile are to die for. This sexy starlet has a number of secrets apart from the mystery shrouding her death. For more than 50 years after her death, a person who overcame childhood abuse and poverty, Marilyn Monroe's aura refuses to diminish. Being the best style icon God has ever made, Marilyn was surely not a dumb blonde. She will be immortalized by her tragic legacy. Her emotions ran deeper than any ocean this earth could contain. Her lines from her unfinished autobiography still make us wonder how people could be so mean to her. Here is an excerpt from her autobiography. Sometimes I've been to a party where no one spoke to me for a whole evening. The men, frightened by their wives or sweeties, would give me a wide berth. And the ladies would gang up in a corner to discuss my dangerous character. During her childhood, Marilyn was brought up in an orphanage because her mother Gladys supposedly had mental issues and was institutionalized. She became a Christian Scientist when she was 18 years old. She, later on, played around with other spiritualities including the one adopted by Rudolf Steiner, anthroposophy. Marilyn's career began after she was discovered by photographer David Conover at the Radioplane Munitions Factory. Then known as Norma Jean Doherty, she was photographed at this plant. This gave way for her success, and soon she became one of Blue Book Modeling Agency's top models. Allegedly, Monroe had the most heaviest peach fuzz beard among all the actresses in those times. Nevertheless, she refused to take off the fuzz and believed that it made her photographs look more natural, giving her a radiance. It was for Tom Kelly that Marilyn posed nude in 1949. She was paid $50 for this photo shoot. Later, after many years, Hugh Hefner bought these negatives from Tom for $500, and thereby published it in the inaugural issue of the Playboy magazine. In her childhood, on being extremely nervous or excited, Monroe had the tendency to stutter. Unfortunately, this habit returned during the shoot of her last, unfinished, film Something's Got to Give. Apparently, Marilyn was believed to be a great cook. It was said that she was extremely good at preparing a Mediterranean soup called bouillabaisse. According to reports, when Monroe died, the rate of suicides in the city hit an alarming high of 12 in a day, highest recorded in those times. It was Johnny Hyde who persuaded her to go for a nose and chin surgery in order to carve them perfectly. Having owned the Marilyn Monroe Productions, she was the second woman in those days to own a production firm. Mary Pickford was the first. The Prince and the Showgirl 1957 was the only movie released by this production house. After marrying Arthur Miller, Monroe converted to Judaism. In the course of her marriage to Miller, Monroe not only suffered a miscarriage, but also an ectopic pregnancy. The role played by Monroe in The Misfits 1961 won praises from the critics. Nevertheless, Monroe always hated the role. The role was written by Miller as a Valentine's Day present for her. Some of her favorite colors were red, black, white, and beige. Her favorite perfume was Chanel No.5 single quote. Monroe was never nominated for Academy Awards in spite of her great acting skills. For 20 years after Marilyn Monroe's death, Joe DiMaggio, her ex-husband, placed half a dozen roses at her grave, 3 times a week. A green Pucci sheath dress, which was her favorite, was the one she was buried with. A fashion editor for the Times of London claimed that Monroe was not more than a size 10, but according to many reports, Monroe was a size 16. Marilyn Monroe used to apply olive oil or lanolin oil when she didn't have her makeup on. She owned a dozen cars, among which were the Bollanders Model I Ford Hawthorne, circa 1926-32, and a 1950 Pontiac convertible. Apparently, Monroe had a cosmetic surgery to fix her front tooth, which was believed to be protruding. Before declaring her screen name as Marilyn Monroe, she nearly agreed to opt for the name Jean Adair. A man named Stanley Gifford claimed to be Marilyn's father on his deathbed, but throughout his life he refrained from meeting her. Edward Mortensen, whose name was misspelled, was Marilyn Monroe's father in her birth certificate. Although she was typecast as dumb and blonde, she had an IQ of 168, deeming her as extremely intelligent. Marilyn was paid less as compared to her co-stars like Jane Russell and Dean Martin. Having fired Monroe for her habit of being extremely late, 20th Century Fox hired her again, 4 days before her death, for $1 million. For her Waldorf Astoria apartment, she purchased a bust of the ancient Egyptian Queen Nefertiti. In school, for writing an essay on Dog, Man's Best Friend, she was awarded a pen. Monroe had to deliver 60 takes for the line "It's me, Sugar," while shooting for the movies Like It Hot. The vault above Monroe's was put on sale on eBay, and it received bids for more than $4.4 million. The burial next to Marilyn Monroe's was bought by Hugh Hefner in 1992 for about $78,000. Her favorite artists were Francisco de Goya, El Greco, and Picasso. For the movie The Prince and the Showgirl, multiple costumes in different sizes had to be created by the designer due to Marilyn's fluctuating weight issues. Marilyn's huge white piano was bought in an auction by Mariah Carey for $662,500. According to Jim Doherty, Monroe had a habit of rinsing her face for more than 10 times after every wash. She was also fond of applying cold cream, Vaseline, and hormone cream. According to Norman Miller in his book Marilyn Monroe had 12 abortions till the time she was 29. Her friends believed that she was murdered. Her psychiatrist, Ralph Greenson, mafioso Sam Giancana, the CIA, Robert Kennedy and John F. Kennedy were allegedly the few potential suspects. Along with the nylon jersey, Monroe was also made to wear a platinum wig to her grave because her hair was partially shaved during the autopsy. It was believed that before her death, she had plans of remarrying Joe DiMaggio. The last dog Marilyn had was gifted to her by Frank Sinatra. He gave it to her after her breakup with Arthur Miller in order to make her feel good. It was a Maltese Terrier. Out of all the estates that Monroe owned, after her death, 75% went to Lee and Paula Strasberg, and the remaining 25% to a child therapy clinic in North London named the Anna Freud Center. An advertising association in 1953 named her "the most advertised girl in the world." American Airlines, Pabst Beer, Royal Triton Oil, Gyron Way Diet Pills, and Tantan Suntan Lotion were few brands that she represented. Her favorite place where she loved shopping was Bloomingdale's. Romanoff's was her favorite restaurant. Indra Devi, a Bollywood star, taught Marilyn Monroe yoga. It was said that she used to go naked to her female employees, makeup artists or other helping hands. She used to give her interviews in a black mink coat gifted by Joe DiMaggio, underneath which she preferred to wear nothing. Among her few favorites were Charlie Chaplin, Jean Harlow, Ginger Rogers, and Joan Crawford. She also won the award of Fastest Rising Star 1952. The flesh-colored, skin-fitting dress she sported on the president's birthday, John F. Kennedy, had approximately 2,500 rhinestones clad over it. The dress was so skin-tight that she literally had to be sewn into it. This dress was auctioned in 1999 for a whopping $1,267,500. There never was and there never will be another iconic beauty and temptress like Marilyn Monroe, who has cemented a place for herself in time. She ruled the hearts of millions then, and undoubtedly, she does so even today. TML